Okay, let's dive in. You might find this, well, frankly startling. I certainly did. Apparently, men who consistently get only about 5 hours of sleep a night, they can have significantly smaller testicles compared to those who are getting, say, 7 hours or more.
Yeah, it's one of those statistics that really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? And it's not just for shock value. It really cracks open the door to understanding how deeply sleep is connected to, well, everything, our overall health.
Exactly, which is what we're getting into today. We're exploring the profound ways sleep, or, not enough sleep impacts us, not just our brains, but the whole system.
And what's fascinating, as you said, it's a window. We're looking at some really solid science here. A lot of it highlighted in that well-known TED Talk by Dr. Matthew Walker.
Right.
Our aim is really to pull out the core findings, understand why sleep is just so crucial. And for everyone listening, this isn't just, abstract stuff. It's about getting a handle on your own well-being, the power of something you do every night, or maybe don't do enough of.
Absolutely. Yeah. And sticking with that initial theme, reproductive health, it actually gets a bit more concerning. Yeah, beyond just the size factor. The research shows that men sleeping only 4 to 5 hours consistently, their testosterone levels can look like someone, get this, 10 years older.
Wow. A full decade.
A decade.
Yeah.
So chronic sleep loss is basically like fast-forwarding a key part of aging in men. And importantly, it's not just men. The studies point to similar, negative impacts on female reproductive health too.
It really does. It underscores that sleep isn't some kind of optional extra for these really fundamental functions. It's foundational.
Foundational, good word.
It's not just about feeling groggy, is it? It's about this intricate hormonal balance that governs so much of our biology. That link to reproductive health is such a powerful kind of early warning sign of how sleep hits us system-wide.
Okay, so let's switch gears slightly. Something we can all probably relate to. Learning. Memory. Turns out sleep isn't just for after you study, letting things sink in. It's critical before you even try to learn something new.
Yeah, that's such a crucial point. People often miss that. Think of your brain like a dry sponge, right? Ready to absorb.
Okay.
If you haven't slept, that sponge is already kind of waterlogged, full of the metabolic gunk from being awake. It just can't soak up much more. Sleep, essentially, wrings out the sponge, cleans the slate for learning.
Right, prepares it. And there was a study that really nailed this, wasn't there? They took 2 groups. One got a solid 8 hours sleep. The other group pulled an all-nighter, basically. Kept awake, supervised, no cheating with naps or caffeine.
Yep, a controlled all-nighter. And then the next day, they tried to teach both groups a new set of facts while scanning their brains in an MRI.
And the results?
Pretty dramatic. The sleep-deprived group showed a 40% deficit in their ability to make new memories compared to the rested group.
40%, that's huge.
It is. Put it in real terms, that's potentially the difference between acing an exam and failing it completely. It just shows sleep isn't a nice-to-have for learning. It directly impacts your ability, measurably.
Definitely makes you rethink those late-night study sessions. And inside the brain, what was happening? You mentioned the scans. Something about the hippocampus.
Exactly. The hippocampus, you can sort of picture it as the brain's main inbox for information. It's where new memories initially get processed.
The inbox, okay.
So in the well-rested group, the scans showed lots of healthy, strong activity in the hippocampus while they were learning, buzzing away. But the sleep-deprived folks, almost nothing, barely a flicker of significant activity.
Why?
It was like their memory inbox was just shut down, closed for business, unable to receive those new facts.
So it's not even about effort when you're tired. It's about the actual capacity being offline.
Precisely. The brain's infrastructure for learning just isn't functioning properly without sleep. Prioritizing sleep is optimizing your ability to learn.
Okay, so sleep gets the brain ready to learn,
Right. Yeah.
but then it's also doing something during sleep to make those memories stick, right? Consolidation.
Yes, absolutely. And this is where it gets, well, really quite elegant. During the deepest stages of non-REM sleep, our brains produce these very large, powerful, slow brain waves.
Deep sleep waves.
Right, and sort of riding on top of these big waves are these short, rapid bursts of electrical activity. They're called sleep spindles.
Sleep spindles, okay.
Think of the deep, slow waves as the sort of data highway. And the sleep spindles, they're like the delivery trucks. They package up memories from the short-term storage, that hippocampus inbox we mentioned, and ship them off to more permanent long-term storage sites across the brain, like filing them away properly.
So it's an active transfer process, like overnight archiving and organization for the brain.
Exactly that. Essential maintenance. which has some pretty big implications when we think about getting older.
Ah, right. The connection between sleep and cognitive decline, memory problems as we age.
Yes, it's a really active area of research. We know deep sleep quality tends to naturally decrease as we get older. And there's growing evidence suggesting this isn't just happening alongside aging, it might actually be a factor contributing to memory decline, perhaps even playing a role in conditions like Alzheimer's disease.
That sounds quite concerning, but wasn't there a sort of silver lining mentioned?
There is. That's the hopeful part. Unlike, say, physical changes in brain structure, which are hard to reverse, sleep is something we can potentially influence. It's modifiable.
Okay, so what can be done?
Well, researchers are exploring methods beyond just sleeping pills, which, by the way, don't typically produce that natural, restorative, deep sleep we need. They're looking into things like direct current brain stimulation, gently stimulating the brain during sleep to try and boost those deep sleep waves.
Really? Like jump-starting the process?
Sort of. The idea is to potentially amplify those beneficial brain waves and hopefully improve memory consolidation, especially for older adults or those at risk. It's still early days, definitely a bit of a moonshot goal, but it's promising.
That's fascinating tech. Okay, so brain health learning, memory, aging, clearly very dependent on sleep. But it doesn't stop there, does it? We started with reproductive health. What about other major systems? The heart, for instance.
Absolutely. The cardiovascular system is a big one. And there's this incredible kind of natural experiment that happens twice a year, daylight saving time.
Ah, yes. Losing or gaining an hour.
Exactly. And the effects are immediate and stark. When we spring forward, losing just that 1 hour of sleep, hospitals see a 24% increase in heart attacks the very next day.
24% from 1 hour.
Yes, it's quite dramatic. And conversely, in the fall, when we gain that hour back, there's a corresponding 21% decrease in heart attacks.
That's really powerful evidence. It shows just how finely tuned our bodies are to sleep duration.
It absolutely does. And it's not just heart attacks either. The data shows similar spikes and dips around those transitions for car accidents and even, tragically, for suicide rates, too.
Wow. It really hits home how much that disruption affects us, body and mind. Okay, what about our defense system, our immunity? How does sleep play into fighting off bugs and, well, worse?
Right, the immune system. Think of your natural killer cells, NK cells, as the sort of secret service agents of your immune system.
Okay, the elite force.
Yeah, they patrol, identify, and take out dangerous elements, like virus-infected cells or even cancerous cells. Now, here's the alarming part. Just one night of restricted sleep getting only 4 hours can cause a 70% drop in the activity of these critical NK cells.
70%.
Extra-
For just one bad night.
70%. It's a really profound hit to your immune defenses from a relatively short period of sleep loss.
That is genuinely shocking. Makes you think twice about burning the candle at both ends.
It should. And that massive drop in immune vigilance helps explain why studies consistently find these strong links between habitually short sleep and a higher risk for several types of cancer. Bowel, prostate, breast cancer have all been linked. In fact, the link is so recognized now that the World Health Organization has actually classified nighttime shift work as a probable carcinogen.
Because it messes with your sleep-wake cycle so fundamentally.
Exactly. It constantly disrupts those natural rhythms that are crucial for immune function and other protective processes.
That's really sobering. Sleep isn't just rest, it's active defense. And I think I recall an even blunter point being made about sleep and just overall lifespan.
Yes, it's perhaps the starkest finding from the large-scale population studies, the epidemiological research. Looking at vast amounts of data over long periods, the conclusion is quite simple, if a bit uncomfortable. The shorter your sleep, the shorter your life.
Wow. Just straight up like that.
Pretty much. Insufficient sleep consistently predicts higher rates of all-cause mortality, meaning dying from any cause. It's not just about the day-to-day feeling. It has serious long-term consequences for longevity.
It feels like almost no part of us is untouched by sleep. And I read something about it going even deeper, right down to our DNA.
Yes, even down to the genetic level. There was this fascinating study where they took healthy adults, restricted them to 6 hours of sleep a night for just 1 week, and compared their gene activity to when they got a full 8 hours.
Okay, what did they find?
They found that 711 different genes had their activity distorted by that single week of insufficient sleep.
711. That's a huge number of genes.
It is. It shows sleep isn't just turning the brain off. It's regulating biological processes right down to our core programming. And the types of genes affected were really telling.
How so?
Well, about half of those 711 genes were actually suppressed. Their activity was turned down. And these were largely genes related to the immune system.
Ah, reinforcing that immune link again.
Exactly. But the other half of the affected genes, their activity was cranked up, upregulated. And these were genes associated with things like promoting tumor growth, chronic inflammation, stress, and cardiovascular disease.
So less sleep means less immune defense and more activity in genes linked to major diseases.
That's what the study suggests. It's like a double whammy. Sleep loss seems to switch off the good stuff and switch on the bad stuff at a genetic level.
It really feels like sleep deprivation throws everything completely out of whack.
Precisely. Matt Walker uses the analogy of a broken water pipe in your house. The damage isn't contained. It leaks out and affects everything, your walls, your electrics, your foundations. Sleep loss does that to your health. It impacts virtually every biological system, right down to the genetic blueprint.
Okay, this is all incredibly compelling, maybe a little scary, but also empowering, right? Because
Right.
we can do something about sleep. So what are the key takeaways, the actionable advice for people listening who want to improve their sleep?
Definitely. Knowledge is power here. And thankfully, the most effective advice is often the simplest. Two key things stand out. First, regularity, consistency. Go to bed and wake up at roughly the same time every day. Yes, even on weekends.
Even weekends. That's the tough one for many.
It is, but it's crucial. It anchors your internal body clock, your circadian rhythm, and that improves sleep quality dramatically. The second key, keep it cool. Temperature. Your body needs to drop its core temperature slightly to initiate and maintain sleep.
Right.
So aim for a cool bedroom around, say, 65 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 18 degrees Celsius. That seems to be the sweet spot for most people.
Regularity and cool temperature.
Mhm.
Okay, seems manageable, but requires discipline.
They're simple principles, but they have a profound impact. It really shifts the mindset from seeing sleep as passive downtime to recognizing it as an active, crucial biological process we need to manage.
Absolutely. It drives home that point you made earlier. Sleep isn't a luxury. It's not optional.
Not at all. It's a fundamental, non-negotiable biological necessity. It's our life support system. It's been called Mother Nature's best effort yet at immortality.
That's quite a statement.
It reflects its importance, this sort of silent sleep loss epidemic we have in modern society. It's a real public health issue. We need to reclaim our right to a full night's sleep without feeling guilty about it.
So just to wrap up the main points from this deep dive, we've seen sleep, or the lack of it, impact, well, pretty much everything. Reproductive health, learning, memory, aging, heart health, our immune system's ability to fight cancer, even down to how our genes work. It really is systemic.
It truly is. It touches every corner of our biology. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Considering everything we've discussed, all these connections, what's perhaps one thing about your own sleep habits that you might look at a little differently now or maybe prioritize more going forward?